Hi Perlene. Alright, so here's your past life spread. So what we're going to do is we're going to look at where we are, what you did with the majority of your time. Here, let's pull that down a little bit. There we go. Yeah. What you did with the majority of your time, an important day with the relationship and feelings involved, another important day, your death, and the lesson learned. And we'll get hints of time throughout, alright? So all I'm doing is relaying to you the images and impressions that I'm getting, and your job is going to be to try to make connections where you can from what we see here to your current life. And I'll try to help where I can, okay? Alright, so let's start. First, we're going to the Americas, alright? And this can mean North, South, or Central America. And what I'm getting right away when I laid this down was South America, along the coast somewhere. And the water is going to play a role in this life. And what it's feeling like, the time period already, is because we're going to indigenous people in South America who have an empire of sorts. I'm not sure if we're looking at, the largest, I don't know if it's Mayan or Aztec or, I don't know if it's the big guys, but we're looking at a really decently sized empire of indigenous people. And I want to say there's something about these people where they have resources of some kind that's very valuable. Maybe not so much mineral, but more so valuable in the ways of survival. And we're looking at a time period before real colonization has occurred from the Europeans or white people or whatever. So we're looking at a time when they're first discovering the Americas. So we're looking at so Google what time period that is, but it feels very much like we're about to see Europeans come to the coastline of the Americas or South America for the first time, at least the first time that these people have seen them, okay? This life we're looking at is the life of a male. We're looking at a male life. So already, how you can be making connections is, one, do you feel connected or pulled towards indigenous people or culture or language or food? Do you feel pulled towards South American, Latino, or Latina food, culture, history, language? And by being pulled towards that, it's also, are you triggered when you read stories of the mistreatment or misplacement of indigenous people on their native land? Are you triggered when you read or hear about that kind of thing? Like when the North Dakota thing was happening recently with the pipelines or the oil lines, was that a big trigger for you? That's the kind of thing you're looking for too, are triggers that let you know, deep down on a soul level, that you're connected with that kind of thing. So let's go to what you did for the majority of your life here. And this card is the life of leisure. The life of leisure. And that can mean a few things. So I've gotten this card, for example, during the Victorian era when the wealthy people just laid about and servants took care of them, blah, blah, blah. But for this, what's coming through is that we're looking at you, this male, as almost I want to say, not quite chief of a tribe, but we're looking at maybe the son of the chief of the tribe, or someone up there who doesn't have to labor, doesn't have the tasks of laboring and doing that kind of, what's it called? Just that work, the hard work, so to speak. Because even here, we're not looking at a tribe, really. We're not looking at a tribe where it's equal, everyone does everything. We are looking at an empire of sorts where there's a head guy that leads this, I want to say large community, really. And then there's a hierarchy of some sort. And it's not as distinctive as it is in Europe, where it's full on totally different classes of people. Here there's a mutual respect all around, but we are looking at someone who is higher up and doesn't have to do grunt work, because there's something more where he does more mind work, solving problems. So if the people have a problem, you would be someone that helps solve the problem. So how you can make connections to that is either one, you are a problem solver. You are someone that people come to get ideas from or brainstorm with or help. Or maybe in your job, your career, you're someone that is works well with groups and you do well with problem solving. On the flip side, how you can also connect is, since you were such a problem solver here, you might have come back into this life to experience the opposite, to kind of relieve yourself of that burden where you're more of like helping, like maybe you're someone where other people are solving a problem, they're telling you what to do in order to get that resolved, if that makes sense. So here you handed out the rules, you handed out the tasks. So in your current life, again, you could be that same person who is very comfortable handing out tasks, which can also mean like motherhood. You might be a great mother because that's all you do is you tell your children, the tasks they have to do. You're a multitasker. Or you can be the opposite, where you came back and wanted to have a life relieved of the burden of kind of dictating to people what to do, so to speak, or thinking of how to solve the problem. So that's how it can go either way. Also keep in mind, we're looking at a male life. So in your current life, if you feel like you have masculine energy come up, if that's been a thing, it would stem from here as well, just knowing that you've been a male before. So if you're able to have masculine tendencies in this life, or maybe you feel very balanced between male and feminine, that would explain it as well. And it doesn't mean you're like a dude, like hulking out like a dude. Like that's not what I mean. It just means that you might have tendencies like characteristics, like you might be forward, or you might be not aggressive so much, but like sure of yourself in that sense. What's it called? Like taking charge. You don't mind speaking out. That kind of thing. Just more, unfortunately, we see that as like masculine characteristics now. But it's just masculine energy. Just think of it as energy. Doesn't mean you have to be a guy to display that. So, the life of leisure. Also, because of this position you're in here, you can connect to that in your current life in a way of, one, do you expect to be handed things? That's one way. But another way is you could have come back in this life as a hard worker because you already experienced a life where you're kind of at the top of the totem pole, so to speak. So you might have come back to experience life a little lower down, where you have to work a little harder to get to where you want to be. So you see, you can connect a few ways. So let's keep going. The first important day here. This is the Mother Nature card, and it can mean a whole lot of things because it's basically like, it's usually like a natural disaster of some sort. So that's usually like an important day because it can have a domino effect and lots of people can be affected. So I'm just trying to see, what we're looking at here. There's something having to do with a mudslide, which means there might have something to do with rain, something having to do with the coast of the water. So something's coming off so it's like a huge storm coming off the coast of the water. We can be looking at a hurricane right here, a big one that causes mudslides because there's something about your place, your community. What they're showing me is buildings that are slanted, almost like pyramidic, like a pyramidish kind of thing, where there's lots of slanting involved in your building, in the architecture, and almost like it's like, I don't know if we're looking at being against a mountain in a certain area of the community, but there's definitely like a slanty place, but it feels like it's handmade or built. So it's almost like if something was possibly built slanting upward, connected to a mountain, and there's a mudslide that makes it so there's things coming down, like a lot of gook coming down, covering things, like a avalanche, like a mud avalanche, if that makes sense. So keep that in mind as we go forward. Here's a soul group. So the soul group, these are people you come in and out of lives with, you travel with, you help learn lessons, you help teach each other. And the soul group are your people here in the community. And there's also something that has to do with, we were talking about the start of European settlers or people coming in to explore. More explorers, not settlers, explorers, because nothing's been built by them yet. They're coming in to see it's a new land to them. So I feel like during this thing happening, they might have already come, or they're fine. It's almost like this bad storm has made one of their ships seek port and land where you are to hide from, or like to be safe from this storm. And it's almost like meeting these people is part of the soul group. There's someone or many someones that are docked with this European ship of explorers, and they come seeking help from you. So there's a lot going on in this time period. And I know it says important day, but it's like a small period of time. So it's almost like this hurricane has brought these new white people basically here, and this is the start of meeting them. It's very interesting. And there's something like an open policy with this community. I don't feel like this is a violent community. If anything, it's more of like curiosity. So there's something about helping these people, and it's the start of, this is like almost, we're looking at the very start of explorers coming in, colonization starting to occur. So this card here is the feelings involved, and this is a duality card, because there's quite capable on one side and then not quite capable or incapable on the other side, and it's just a mixed feeling card. It can mean either one or both, and in this case it's feelings of both coming through, because you've never dealt with this issue before. You're feeling quite capable in being able to take care of your community, but incapable in the sense of feeling torn, like not knowing what to do with these new people, what they mean to your community, how they're going to affect you guys, because there's a sense of peace in your community, and you don't know how this might disrupt that. So in your current life, how you can be making connections is you might be someone who doesn't like change in your household, so to speak. You might be someone that is wary of change. You're not quite fond of it. You might be someone that likes to be able to see a few steps ahead of yourself. And when you can't, it can cause a bit of fear. So you might be someone that kind of has even if it's mild, a fear of change. And I feel like this would be brought up right now as a message to you to start stepping outside of your comfort zone and start embracing change. And just try doing that, even though it might be hard. It would be the best step for you. Because what it does is it really opens you up to really wonderful possibilities and opportunities that wouldn't be there had you not taken that step outside your comfort zone. So keep that in mind, okay? So I still want to say also, there's a feeling of needing to protect people, take care of people. If you find that you're a caretaker of sorts, if you're someone that volunteers to get something done, again, we're looking at a problem solver here. Keep that in mind as well. It would stem from here. And there's also that message coming through of, if you are a caretaker of sorts, don't spread yourself too thin. Make sure you take care of yourself first. Taking care of yourself first and prioritizing yourself and your needs first is not selfish. It's necessary. Because if you take care of yourself first, you'll be able to take care of a lot more people and feel very good about it without resentment. So keep that in mind as well. Also, this Mother Nature card, there's something about, keep in mind if you are triggered when you hear about mudslides or something having to do with like things coming crashing down, and hurricanes. So, for example, if you hear about like in California and the West Coast, those mudslides happening, like where it takes houses down, communities are like wrecked by it. If you're triggered by that kind of thing, keep in mind it would stem from here, because this really demolishes a huge section of the community here. But also ultimately it's the hurricane. So if you're someone that's also really worried when you hear about the hurricane, like you might be someone that really does not like hurricane season, or maybe you're someone that doesn't want to live where there are hurricanes. Like you're just done living on the coast near the water. You might be done with it. Or because you did live here on the coast, You might be someone who actually loves living on the coast, but hurricanes might bother you. Or someone who doesn't like to drive in the rain. Like you just will not drive in the rain. That can be you as well. So if that speaks to you at all, great. And if not, that's fine too, but that's how you would make connections. So let's go to the next important day. Now here we have the war card, the battle card, and this does have to do with, it's weird because it's like another couple of things. But basically it does have to do with suspicions rising with the people who have come from over the sea, the white people, the European, whatever it is, the Europeans. There's something suspicious about them because at this point they are talking about settling down, building, doing their own thing. So there's talk of it, and there's suspicions with your people rising, mainly having to do, it's almost like they have begun showing tendencies of disrespect or what your people consider disrespect, and they might not realize it's disrespectful, or they might, but regardless, you're starting to see or feel this kind of disrespect, and there's something brewing, okay? And there's also something with this card having to do with there's another tribe or community in the area, so to speak, maybe the same, what we would consider a state today. Like, so let's say we're looking at the coast at the very like bottom of Brazil, like where the coast is all the way down, possibly like the next country down, because I'm not sure about all the geography, but say it's like in that area. We're looking at another community, like indigenous community, that's more in the land. So they're like more in the interior and you're on the coast, and there's problems with that. So there's some weird disrupt happening here. And then we have the soulmate card. So the soulmate card is not always romantic, and in this case I'm trying to see what's going on with the soulmate card. And then the feelings involved is distant and removed. So this is okay. Okay, so what it feels like is mainly what we're looking at is the other indigenous community. There's something like they're demanding, I feel like it's something like demanding one of, like almost like your daughter or the daughter of the chief or whoever's the head of the tribe. This is what it's feeling like. It feels like you and this young woman are almost set that you guys would be partners, union, marriage kind of thing. And then this other tribe is demanding her as a form of a weird kind of peace treaty, even though they're demanding it. It's almost like, hey, they're saying, if you want to keep the peace going, we need to like freshen up our ties, and by doing that we want a marriage between like the chief's daughter and our chief's son, or our chief, or whatever it is. And it feels like that is what we're talking about, is actually a romantic thing, is the woman intended for you has to go away. And so we're looking at a heartbreak here. And we're also looking at something you have to let go in order to keep the peace, because it's also part of your job, but it's like part of your job to keep the peace, but it's also you're a member of the community and you have to let go of that attachment in order to keep the overall like wellness of your people. And the feelings of being distant and removed is a blocking off of those feelings in order to do your job. And this is an interesting feeling because it can translate into your current life as someone who blocks off your feelings, numbing yourself to something rather than embracing the feelings that might feel really gooky and bad in order to process through them and come out the other side and learn from them. There might be a block. You might feel like if you start to look at yourself and your emotions and how you react to certain things, you might find that you're blocked in certain ways, or you put up a wall. And if you're someone that does do this, then this would be coming through as a message for you to start working through it and processing it in a way that you're able to, where this man couldn't. just because of the life he's living. There's no way. Like, in order to survive through that kind of heartbreaky feeling, he has to put up a wall because he needs to stay strong. But you've come back in this current life to experience something else. You're not in this position anymore, but you still might be seeing characteristics of that. But this is why you might be reincarnating too in this life, is to work through that and learn to drop the walls. And the walls don't necessarily mean other people. It really means about like yourself, like allowing yourself to feel yourself fully, and even learning, like, even if it's a bad feeling, yeah, no one wants to feel bad, but if you learn how to work through those feelings, then it becomes easier and easier, and it's much healthier. And this kind of block can also speak to certain health problems you might be having. There can be certain things, you might get headaches, migraines, you might have like literal health issues inside your body that you're aware of that you don't know where they come from. And that's where it would come from, is the blocking of your emotions, the non-processing, possibly. So keep that in mind as well. You know, I'm not a doctor or anything, but like, this is the kind of thing where they say can create like a cancer of some sort. And that's not saying you are, but it's the kind of thing where the emotions create the physical ailments when you hear about that kind of thing. So again, that's not what's happening to you necessarily at all, but it's like I'm trying to show you examples of what happens when emotionally you block yourself. It can manifest physically in certain ways, whether it is a headache or the flu or something more problematic, you know? So keep that in mind as well. Also, this can speak to your romantic life. You might be closed off romantically. You might find yourself putting up walls, or at one time having put up walls towards romantic interests, or something you might have. This might also translate into trust issues that you have with people that you've dated or you've married or whatever it is. With relationships. It doesn't necessarily have to be romantic, actually. It can just be with people you really care about, and you find yourself investing your emotion in them, and then it scares you. So if that's a fear that you've had to deal with in this life, it would be coming through here as a message that you don't have to worry about it anymore. And it's time to start opening up, dropping the walls, and letting your feelings flow through you. Whether it feels good, feels bad, it's about feeling. That's what it is. Whether it feels good or bad, it's about feeling, and it's time to really feel. And you might be someone who's come back and really does feel everything because you were blocked off here. So you see, it can connect either way. So keep that in mind. So now let's go to the death. And here we have disease. We have the disease card, and this comes directly from the Europeans. This comes directly from the foreign diseases, foreign chemicals and germs that they have brought over. And it's infecting you and others as well. So these are the people that are bringing over bacteria and illnesses that were not on the land, that are not native to this land, and you suffer from it. And what it feels like basically is like the flu, and you've never gotten it before, and it's hard to breathe, might be pneumonia even, bronchitis kind of thing. And you die from that, and today, you know, you wouldn't die from that because we can get help for that. We have forms to help, medication and all that to help, but in this case, you didn't know what to do, and even they didn't know what to do because we're so far back that they really didn't have medicine for that either. But they're more immune to it because they're from a place that has it. So we're seeing a portion of your community be desecrated by this illness, which is really sad. And so you... how this can translate to you in your current life is, if you are someone that gets sick every winter, you get that bronchitis-y, flu-y kind of thing maybe. If you have breathing issues, if you have, that pertains to your lungs and having fluid or mucus in your lungs, you might be very mucusy. If your sinuses, if you have issues with your sinuses, just like that region of your body, you know, like from your lungs up to your sinuses and head, feeling clogged, getting sick, you know, that kind of thing would stem from here. Also fatigue. If you find that you're fatigued often or dehydrated, it would stem from here. So drink more water, basically. And so this also pertains to if you're triggered when you hear about like right now even there's a flu going around right now, and it's kind of scary because all these kids are dying from it. It's really sad. And if that triggers you on a very deep level, that would make sense as well. It would stem from here because you're seeing your people die. You're seeing your people die, and then you're one of them. So keep that in mind as well. We're not looking at biological warfare necessarily here, though. This isn't them intentionally trying to hurt you, because at this point there's still like a nice peace between everybody. So it's not like, they're not doing the whole handing out blankets with that disease on it that they did back in the day. This is purely unintentional, but it happens anyway. So the lesson here is dream big. Dream big. And I feel like what it is a continuance of this, because you had a big life in this community. It was full. You experienced everything, and you had a lot of good friends, and it was a very like loving, wonderful, balanced existence. But what this is talking about now is, because you've reincarnated now in these times, you can get out of your community. So what it feels like is that even if you have a lovely life, friends, and a nice community, it's almost like a message like, hey, don't stop there. And this has to do with change. This has to do with embracing change. It's almost like a call for you to not just embrace change, but to create change. So it's almost like you might be comfortable where you are, but if you want to experience a great life, you might have a wonderful life. If you want to experience greatness, if you want to experience like the feeling of a fulfilling life, if that's something that has crossed your mind recently, you have to know you can step outside of your community. You can travel. You can get out of there. You can be bigger, especially with the technology and social media, all that we have. Whether it's starting a business and reaching out and making it an international business, there's so many possibilities at your fingertips, so much opportunity out there now. You can expand yourself because there's so much potential. Like, this person is like very intelligent, very creative, and that doesn't go away. You are intelligent. You are creative. If you have ideas, don't keep them small. You're not supposed to keep them small. If you have ideas, let them grow and expand, and don't limit yourself either by your region or your being a family person, being at home kind of thing. Don't limit yourself by your age. Don't limit yourself by your gender. This is a card where it's like, basically, it feels like it's like calling out not to limit yourself in any way. And you're the only one that can limit yourself. If you feel like you can't do something, even if someone has said you can't do it, it's because you allow yourself to believe it. So all the limitations you experience in your life is put on by you. And you are also capable of dissolving them and getting rid of any barriers, any limitations. And I feel like that's why this card is coming up, because this person was limited by their region, by their community, lack of travel capacity, just all sorts of things that are part of his time period. But you don't have those limitations. You have all of his creativity and intelligence and drive and possibility, plus the opportunity now, the technology now. So don't limit yourself. That's basically the message coming through for this. All right? So I hope you enjoyed that. There's your past life. I hope you're able to make some connections, and thanks for letting me read you.